When you think about success in pickleball, what immediately comes to mind? Is it being at the top of the podium in a huge tournament, finally notching a win over that opponent who seems to have your number? Or is it clearing a hurdle in your rating, like getting to 4.5 or getting to 5.0? Each of these seems like a reasonable benchmark for success in pickleball. And yet, there's evidence to show that a focus on results like this can actually be counterproductive to our progress and to our performance. So in the next few minutes, I want to lay out a clear roadmap for your success in pickleball. And it's one that's sustainable year after year. Recently, I was talking to a friend who lost a close third game in a gold medal match. In fact, she and her partner had a couple match points, which were effectively championship points, but ultimately, I think they lost 12-10 in the third. So just 1 or 2 points away from the championship. And she was breaking down what happened and analyzing, of course, things they could have done differently, things she wished that they had tried. But she summed it up by saying, well, this is just another leg on my pickleball journey. And that really stuck with me because with that attitude, when you look at your game or your trajectory as a journey, it puts the disappointments in perspective. Her aim isn't a particular victory or a particular gold medal. It's what she's becoming. It's the overall path and the overall journey. So when I talk about creating a roadmap for pickleball success, the term roadmap is very intentional because if we're on a journey, a map helps us see where we've been, how far we've traveled. It helps locate where we are now and also set a course for where we want to go. We may at times have breakdowns at the side of the road. We may stall. We may take wrong turns. But if we can keep this bigger perspective, then disappointments along the way can be put into context and be seen as just part of the overall experience. And the crucial element that we need to create this map is to set goals. But not all goals are created equal. And in fact, some, like I mentioned earlier, may be counterproductive. I want to summarize the key findings from this large study that was a meta-analysis of 27 sports-related studies looking at how goal setting affects performance and other psychological and physiological variables. The study covers 3 types of goals, and the worst are what we covered earlier in terms of the benchmarks for success, which are comparison goals or outcome-based goals. So if you're trying to beat a particular person, if that's your goal, then it actually increases your anxiety and impairs your performance during that match. And one of the problems with comparison or outcomes-based goals is that there are components that aren't within your control. So it may be a terrible weather day, you may have a bad line call, that person may be playing out of their minds, so even if you're playing extremely well, they may not be beatable, and they're also working towards their own goals. In the past year, I actually had a couple of what on paper would be considered good wins, and yet the 2 that come to mind, one of the opponents was actually playing extremely poorly. So even though the outcome was a win for me, it didn't feel that gratifying because I knew I wasn't playing this person at their best. And another example was the weather was terrible. We literally had 30-mile-an-hour winds. So all of our games were compromised and we just happened to be the lucky ones to come out on top that day. On the flip side, I had a couple matches this year that I lost, and they were such fun 3-game matches that a couple days later someone asked my results and I couldn't remember if I'd won or lost because the battle itself had been so fun and there was great camaraderie with the opponents that it felt like a win for all of us, even though the actual outcome wasn't a W for me. A better alternative is performance-based goals. And an example of this in pickleball is in the next match, I want to successfully make 90% of my third shots, or I want to make fewer than 3 unforced errors in the match. So performance-based goals relate to execution of different tasks during a match or during a game situation. And importantly, they don't rely on anyone else or any other variables. They're completely determined by me or the person setting that goal. And what the researchers found is that performance-based goals decreased anxiety, they increased self-confidence, and also had better actual results in performance. Another element of performance-based goals is they're more effective in more experienced players. So as your skill is improving, as you're more seasoned, you'll want to pepper performance-based goals in with the number 1 type of goals, which are process-based goals. And these have to do with the skill building and skill mastery itself. And these are absolutely under your control. So process-based goals are the things that you're doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. For example, if I want to execute 90% of my third shot drops, then each time I train, I want to be doing 30 minutes of third shot drops. I want to do different situations and different conditions. So the process goal is then honing my technique of my third shot and being very specific about the time input or the ways I'm going to go about doing that. The researchers found that process-based goals were the most effective in meeting performance tasks in the study conditions. And importantly, process-based goals also improved the player's sense of control and their self-efficacy. So similar to self-confidence, but they define self-confidence as a general belief in one's skills. Self-efficacy is the belief in one's ability to execute that particular task. So if I've done thousands and thousands of third shots in practice, then in that tournament, if my performance-based goal is to execute 90%, then I'm going to believe in myself, not only general confidence that I have the skills to do it, but also I'm going to believe in my ability to meet that particular goal. Another point about process-based goals is that they're not confined to skill building or particular techniques. Because if we think about what we need to do to be an overall pickleball athlete and a successful competitor, we need to think also about how many days per week are we going to commit to strength training? What are we going to do for our off-court endurance training? Also, what other health parameters? Our sleep, our nutrition. We also need to think about strategic learning. How much time are we going to put into video review and match analysis and coaching? Then, if we step back and take a look at the big picture, we see that process-based goals are stepping stones to performance-based goals. And once we're fulfilling our performance-based goals, the outcomes will take care of themselves. Several other findings that are worth noting from the research are that it's crucial to have both short and long-term goals. Long-term goals are helpful, but they need to be broken down into smaller bite-sized increments, like what you're going to work on month by month. And if you're working on a particular skill or trying to add a new skill, like getting that backhand flick down, you want to work on only one at a time, because doing too many at once can dilute the effects and dilute the benefits. Another finding from the study that was unexpected is that non-specific goals can actually be helpful for performance. And what I mean by that is a goal like, I just want to go out and play my best, or I want to go out and really focus on having fun today. The reason this was unexpected is because a lot of other goal-based research has suggested that goals need to be specific and measurable. But this review showed that non-specific goals can be just as beneficial, and especially for people who are just starting out. So novices, if you set a goal of saying, let's just go have fun, you're actually going to perform better. And I think if more of these studies were done in pickleball, we would find that enjoyment and performance would definitely be related. With all this in mind, you're ready to sit down and write your roadmap for pickleball success. Start with process-based goals and limit yourself to a max of 3. Because just like working on different skills, if you have too many, if you have 5 or 6 process-based goals that you want to work on each day or each week, then you'll easily get overwhelmed and you won't fulfill any of them. So 3 process-based goals, and then maybe 1 or 2 max performance-based goals. Set a time frame for working on these, maybe 2 to 3 months, and a time frame for when you're going to reevaluate them. If you're wondering why I mention third shot so often, it's because they're really high on my process and performance-based goals for the foreseeable future. It's really difficult to win points if you can't get them started. Drop me a note in the comments because I want to hear what goals you're going to work on in the next few months. And it's okay to keep that dream or that vision of the big championship or the big win over that opponent you've wanted to beat for so long. Because whether you do or whether you don't won't get you down, because you have your roadmap in hand. You're on a much bigger pickleball journey. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.